Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in Brno at the Masaryk Racing Circuit for the season finale of the 2023 ESET Cup Series. And it is, of course, the second day of the program, or second day of the weekend. It's the Sunday's program that's now on the cards and on the bill. And we are starting it right away with the first race, and it is the Renault Clio Cup race. It's the last race of the season. It's already been decided that Martin Kadlecík and Tomáš Pekař were the respective champions of the Mark IV and Mark V class. But there is still a lot to play for, at least for the race win glories. Martin Kadlecík, however, sits on pole position yet again. So far, he's won all of the races, and he is on the brink of achieving something rather brilliant, and that would be winning all of the races of the entire season. Whether he can do that or not, that's the question for the following 25 minutes. But of course, he's got the speed, he's got the pace, he's got the confidence, so there is currently no reason why he shouldn't repeat what he's done 11 times in the row already. Alongside him, Szabolcs Lantos in the second place. Szabolcs Lantos, the Hungarian driver, scored the victory yesterday in the Mark V class as he was second on the road, just as he is on the start now. Basically, the starting order copies the results from yesterday's race number 1. Nick Stefancic sits in third, alongside him Adam Konopka in that yellow Clio in the colors of ARC Bratislava. Richard Meixner, he did not have the best of qualities as he was lacking performance and his car was not really in the best of shapes, but the team brought him a spare car for the races, and Richard Meixner rewarded the team with a great comeback drive in yesterday's race to come all through the pack to P5 overall and third in the Mark IV class. He is therefore fifth on the grid on row number 3. Alongside him, Miha Primožič from Slovenia, and then P7 it's Jiří Zbožínek, alongside him Ondřej Fekete, and to complete the top 10 it is Dejan Robida and Andrej Makarovic. Behind the Clios we have got 4 cars in the Mazda MX-5 Cup. It is Rudolf Beňo leading them from Tomáš Kazarka and Marko Kazarka, the Kazarka brothers, fighting it out together once again. Andrej Kamenišťák then together with them to complete the grid and to complete the action. We have now set off for the formation lap. My name is Pavel Fabry, I'm your commentator for the weekend as usual, and 5,403 meters, that's the circuit's length. Cars will now get their tires and brakes ready, even though it is rather hot already. It's 22 degrees centigrade and the track is already, I believe, reaching over 40. It's still important to actually put the heat into the tires, into the brakes. Even in these conditions, if you don't do your preparations properly, you can actually find yourself with the tires stone cold and glazing brakes, which is what you definitely don't want. And then you'd be prone to lockups, and basically you'd be losing grip on each lap massively. So, the all-important preparations, that is also why you'll see the drivers weave along the straights where possible to actually put some energy through the tires and keep some heat in the tires, and then of course make a couple of brake tests in the process to put some heat into the brakes as well. Where you don't need the heat is your head, of course. You need to be clear-minded and stay cool, because even though you can win a lot in the first corner, there is always the old racing drivers saying that the race is not won in the first corner. Still, we tend to see that on occasions. Sometimes someone trying to be overly optimistic and opportunistic, and then bringing their own race into tears. So we're now climbing from the lowest point on the track, that's right after the Kevin Schwantz corner, that's this one. Wonderful, wonderful aerial shot. And now we're starting to climb back up on the hill, and just look how steep it is. So, for example, this sequence of corners is extremely crucial, because if you don't hit the apex correctly, if you're maybe too wide and understeering, and even if you skip across the gravel, then you lose so much speed, and it's so much harder to actually gain it in that uphill section, which would then mean that you're just losing so much time in the process and in the race very easily. Lots and lots of positions. Cars getting back on the starting grid, and very shortly we'll be able to get going for the first time on the final day of the 2023 season. So the green flag is now up in the air, which means that everything is fine on the grid, so the starting procedure can commence. And we're waiting for the lights to go on, to go red, which is not happening yet. There's actually a problem on the car of Jiří Zbožínek. So the green flag was in the air at the back, but there is an issue. Is it the car out of position? No, there's problems for Jiří Zbožínek, and he's now having to be pulled away. So we have another formation lap. So the procedure will be restarted now. And that's definitely not the way Jirka wanted his season to end. Together with his dad, they had their fair share of bad luck and bad fortunes in the past weekends. They had an engine failure in Most after a contact with the spinning car of Adam Konopka. So they had to change the engine. When they did, they had a clutch issue. So that basically cancelled their entire weekend the last time out in Slovakia. So much trouble lately for the humble team of Jiří Zbožínek and his dad. Basically, they're just traveling around the season as a pair, compared to, for example, the armada of staff that the ARC Bratislava has. Lots of mechanics, engineers, and everyone involved. On the other hand, you'll have really privateer teams like Jirka Zbožínek and also Martin Kadlečík. Both of these boys are traveling around the season together with their dads, and they are their engineers, they are their mechanics, they are their everything. So it's a season on budget, very, very, very humbly done, and hats off to them to actually being able to be on the pace and still fighting with all the other big guns. So great to see them on the grid. There must have been an issue on, well, there must have been an oil leak. That's not good. It just means that the technical issues just continue and continue. Not the end of the season that Jirka Zbožínek would have hoped for. Very unfortunate. That is simply motorsport. These things happen, and yeah, what can you do, what can you say? The rest of the pack is now on another formation lap. And that just gives the track marshals some extra space to clean everything and clear the car, which is now back in the pit lane. Everybody else will come back onto their grid positions. We will leave that place, the P7, empty. So no reshuffling on the grid in such a case. So the 7th position will now remain vacant, unoccupied. Martin Kadlecik is coming back onto the front of the field, on pole position once again, as mentioned. Alongside him Szabolcs Lantos. Row 2, that's Nick Stefancic and Adam Konopka. Row number 3, Richard Meixner, Miha Primožič. Then row number 4, it's now nobody in P7 and Ondrej Fekete in P8. Behind him Dejan Robida, Andrej Makarovič, and then the Mazdas. Rudolf Beňo, Tomáš Kazarka, Marko Kazarka, Andrej Kamenišťák. A little space between the Clios and the Mazdas, and the red lights are now really coming on. And we are racing in Brno for the final time. We have deducted some time off the 25 minutes for the extra formation lap, so the race is actually 3 minutes shorter. There's a crash already. Oh, that's a big one right at the start, and that is Richard Meixner in the orange car of Carpec Racing and Adam Konopka in that yellow Clio, ending in the wall and damaging his car further still. Jirka Zbožinek exiting the pits. He will be able to rejoin the race, but we will definitely have safety car at least. It's Martin Kadlecik in the lead from Lantos and Stefancic, so nothing changed in third and fourth. But then there was a clash between Meixner and Konopka, and that was a very, very big hit into the concrete wall. Not at huge speed, but it is a concrete wall, so it's never pleasant. There is no basically crush zone, no crumpling area that would absorb the hit. So that was right hard into the concrete wall. Nothing very pleasant for Adam Konopka, who's had his fair share of hits this season already. And big crashes mainly in Most. We have got the medical team coming onto the scene. The drivers still sat in their cars. Hopefully both are okay. Of course, now all the team's members are now hanging on the pit wall to check for themselves what's going on. Everybody wants to have a look. We see Míša Dorčíková from ARC Bratislava checking on her team member and assessing the gravity and severity of the incident. Okay, let's try and take a look once again at the start. Now we'll get that ready and show you later. So that was a very, very unfortunate situation. We heard from the local commentators here at the track, from Martin Straka, Tonda Kala, that the drivers should be okay. Richard Meixner is even able to restart his car. There was the contact. Oh, but Adam Konopka T-boned the wall. It was a direct hit, so that yellow Clio is going to take has taken quite a lot of damage. The orange Clio has just been driven back into the pits. It's probably not going to be able to finish the race because Richard Meixner hit the wall with both of the left-hand side wheels, front and rear. So geometry is now a question. There's a question mark over them. So the entire field is following the safety car through the pit lane, because we of course need to have a little more time and space to clear all the debris and eventual oil spills, should there be any, after that hit. And you see that the start and finish straight is now obstructed with the crashed Clio and with the rescue crew. They're now trying to take care of the track surface. Not sure if there's any oil spill or any leak of any sort of fluid from the car. So simply the mechanical debris is being swept away. So even the second attempt of the start was not successful. Now Konopka's car being towed away. So it seems that the front axle is fine. The crumple zone has done its job. and hopefully it's not going to be anything more than that. Konopka's car is now, ooh, and that beam, support beam, I'm not sure for how long it is going to be able to hold on the car. EASI Bratislava mechanics running to the scene. They don't want the car to be towed away for too long, not to cause any more damage. The rest of the pack is still on track, so Martin Kadlecik, well, he's held on to his lead. We haven't done much racing under the green flag yet. Only a couple of hundred of meters. Jirka Zbožinek is back on track, so that's good to see. He didn't make the first formation lap. So Kadlecik leading from Lantos, Štefančič third. Of course, Adam Konopka, Richard Meixner out of contention. And Ondřej Fekete exploited the situation to his advantage very well, and he's up to fourth. Miha Primožič is in fifth. Dejan Robida gained 3 places, he's sixth. Andrej Makarovic in seventh. Rudo Beňo in P8. Tomáš Kazarka and Andrej Kamenišťák completing the top 10, and then we have got Jiří Zbožinek in 11th and Marko Kazarka in 12th. So now, of course, even the Mazdas are in the mix. And Jirka Zbožinek will have to try and find his way through. So, the start and finish straight now seems to be all clear, but we still have the yellow and red flag, the stripy one, that signals to all the drivers that the surface might be slippery, there might be debris or even some oil or water on the track, so they need to be careful. Everybody needs to preferably stay away from the inside of the start and finish straight. But of course the surface has been treated, so we will be able to restart the race, and safety car should come back in this lap. So the lights are off on the safety car, which would signal the impending restart. Well, we were hoping for eventful races. Now it's already been quite a lot of drama before we even got properly going. So is the safety car going to come back in or not? Or is just Martin Kadlecik leaving quite a lot of distance? No, yeah, the safety car is really coming in. And now we are restarting the race. So third attempt to get going. There we go, Martin Kadlecik in the lead. So far unfazed by anything. Green flags are in the air. Of course, on the start and finish straight, there's the stripy yellow and red flag. Nick Štefančič immediately trying to have a go on Szabolcs Lantos. Look at the inside rear wheel on that predominantly white Clio with black and orange highlights of Szabolcs Lantos. How it's kicking its inside rear wheel up in the air as it's cornering so hard through the first right-hander. Now we are coming to T3. Nick Štefančič very close behind, and he's going to have to make sure that he makes the move nice and early on, because Miha Primožič has already dealt with Fekete and he's up to fourth, so he will be after Štefančič surely. Štefančič having another look. We are driving fast into the Kevin Schwantz corner. Štefančič trying it on the inside. Lantos shutting the door in the process. Now as we're approaching the halfway mark of the race, with only the first entirely green lap about to be completed. Up the hill we go. Stefancic having another look. He's definitely faster, but not by much. And that, of course, means that it's not so easy for him to get the overtake done. There we go, around the final corner, and across the line we go. Martin Kadlecik opening quite a big lead, 3 seconds across the first lap. Absolutely amazing dominance. Stefancic having a go finally into the first corner. Lantos trying to stay alongside, and they are going side by side through the opening corner. But it is now Nick Stefancic who is going to prevail. Yes, he is. That's Stefancic versus Szabolcs Lantos. Stefancic still under pressure. Look on the inside. Look at the inside rear wheels. How they are always being kicked up in the air and lifted off the ground in each corner. Miha Primožič trying to get closer as well. Dejan Robida in 6th. Ondřej Fekete in 5th now. And it's Makarovic, Brno. Jirka Zbožínek has already passed Marko Kazarka and also Kamenišťák, so he's up to 9th. Completing another lap. Car number 88, Dejan Robida. We don't really have him in the shot so often, but this race has been going really well for him. He's up to 6th now. Or even 5th, yeah, even 5th. I'm sorry, I'm having to refresh my live timing, which is not really staying alive very much, even today. So it's 5th place for Robida already. And that, of course, would be a great result for him. He's dealt with Ondřej Fekete. Fekete was as high as in 4th earlier on, but now he's losing ground. Meanwhile, Martin Kadlecik set the fastest lap of the race, 2:24.4. Stefancic, great pace for Stefancic, by the way, 2:25.6. Yes, he's a second slower than Kadlecik, but there's still quite some performance margin between the two Clio generations, so that's not really down to him that much. But if you just compare his lap times, he's just done 2:25.6, Nick Stefancic, but Lantos 2:26.5. So Stefancic has been able to lap the track, as near as makes no difference, a second per lap faster after the successful overtake. So hats off to Stefancic. Great pace for the double Renault Twingo Cup champion from the previous 2 seasons. Great pace for the season finale. He's also had a season of ups and downs. He had a crash in Germany at Oschersleben. He had a crash in Most, but his season has not really been bad. And right now he's on course to take the Mark V class victory. He had to start quite further back into yesterday's race. Made his way through and into second in the Mark V class. Now he's leading it. He's actually the second man of the standings. He has no chance anymore to get ahead of Tomáš Pekař, who's not even here, is actually racing at the Red Bull Ring and this weekend in the European Renault Clio Cup. Stefancic actually opened the season with 2 second places in Germany at Oschersleben. Then he had a couple of third places in Hungary, then a couple of second places again in Slovakia. Most, he was second again in the second race after the collision in the first race. Then he was third and second in Slovakia the last time out, second in yesterday's race. So still waiting for his first breakthrough victory, and it would only be fitting for him to end the season on a high with a victory on the final race, in the final race of the season. And we've only got just over 6 minutes left on the clock in today's race. Martin Karlečík, meanwhile, as I mentioned, he has won everything that the season offered. Absolutely dominant performance so far. There is Szabolcs Lantos. He used to race for Carpec Racing, but has left the team lately. He was not really very happy about the internal team battles with Henrik Seibel, which even resulted in their respective crash after the finish line in Most. So, well, Seibel not present here. He's also racing in Europe together with the team. So actually, the dominant force of the Renault Clio Cup, not with so many members here for the home event, because they're still racing in the European Clio Cup. We've got Richard Meixner flying the team's colors this weekend. And if we just go through the season a little more, and take a look at these two, for example, Szabolcs Lantos. He was on the podium at Oschersleben to open the season with in the second race, and then he was back on the rostrum in Slovakia in the first race. His best weekends to date were the Most and Slovakia Ring rounds, the previous two rounds actually, where he was always second and third. And then in yesterday's race came his first victory of the season. Now he's lost that place to Nick Stefancic, who is going to try and have his first win of the season today. Miha Primožič behind. He's yet to score a win this year. He's had such successes in the past. He's been in the Clio Cup for some time already. He moved to the Mark V class himself. It's interesting because we still have the Mark IV class in the field, and for the next year it's already time to actually facelift the Mark V Clios. So the facelift, if you just look at on the internet, and if you haven't seen that, the Mark V Clio already has a facelift which is out. So even the Clios, of course, will get the new kits for the cars for the following seasons to stay in times with the production model that the Racing Clio is actually based on. Miha Primožič, 3rd and 4th in Oschersleben, then 5th twice in Hungary. Then he was 4th and 6th in Slovakia, 3rd and 5th in Most, then 6th and 4th in Slovakia, and then 3rd in yesterday's race. He's now running 3rd again in the Mark 5 class. Tomáš Pekař opened the season with a double victory in Germany. Then it was him again winning the first race in Hungary, but then for the second race of the weekend it was Jerzy Spinkiewicz, his rival from the European Clio Cup, that came for one weekend and was 2nd and 1st in Hungary. And then in Slovakia it was Tomáš Pekař victorious again in both races, so he made it 5 out of 6. Then came Most, and it was Henrik Seibel winning the first race, and then Tomáš Pekař winning the second race, and then Tomáš Pekař dominating the Slovakia ring round the last time out. Now it is Szabolcs Lantos winning race number 1, Nick Stefancic on course to win the race number 2 with just over 1 minute left on the clock. Martin Kadlecik, on the other hand, has won absolutely everything in the Mark IV class. No other winner this year. There were fights with Michael Hulm, Adam Konopka, Richard Meixner, Jiří Zbožník. Libor Horák joined the field for the round in Most and did really well. He was 2nd and 3rd. And we also had Igor Tomljanovic joining in for one weekend and one weekend only, actually. So 20 seconds left on the clock. Are we going to be able to start another lap or not? The Clio is not the fastest car of the weekend, but this should still be enough for Martin Kadlecik to start another one. Yes, with 8 seconds to spare, he is commencing another lap. So far we've done 8 laps under the green flags. There we go, on to the final one, and it's going to be a big battle between yesterday's race winner and Miha Primožič. So Lantos versus Primožič for 2nd in the Mark V class and 3rd overall. Final lap of the race. Kadlecik leading dominantly again, nothing stopping him. There we go. Miha Primožič having a look down the inside. But Lantos being able to fend off his attack. But what is going to happen between these two? This should be an interesting one. Martin Kadlecik in the league of his own. Also in the class of his own, basically. He's in the Mark IV Clio, but he's not alone in it, but he's just so much further ahead from anybody else. Out of the Kevin Schwann's corner, and Martin Kadlecik making his way back up the hill. The guy that started his racing career on the virtual racing scene, doing virtual Formula 1 and even representing the Czech Republic in the Motorsport Olympic Games in the virtual Formula 1 and doing really well. He earned his chance to try his hand on the Renault Twingo Cup scene. And now he's absolutely dominated the 2023 Clio Cup, having won absolutely everything. Well, the last time I saw that was when Dusan Borkovic won the entire season of the Eastern European TCR in the COVID hit year of 2020. But that was a shortened season. This is a full season, and Martin Kadlecik has won all 12 races. Hats off to Martin. He's definitely a great racer. And let's not forget, he's only doing the weekends together with his dad. So they're just going around the Central Europe as a pair, doing everything themselves and still dominating. Nick Stefancic taking the victory in the Mark V class. Great stuff from the young Slovenian, the two-time Renault Twingo Cup champion. Finally scoring that desired victory. It came in the last race, but it came eventually, and Nick Stefancic then tops the season with a fitting result in his campaign, where the only driver that he was unable to beat was the legend of the Clio Cup, Tomáš Pekař, who, let's be honest, he's always extremely hard to fight against and to beat. So Nick Stefancic beat everyone else, and is now finishing his season with a great victory. Szabolcs Lantos coming home third overall, second in the class. Miha Primožič third in the Mark V class, fourth overall. Then it is Dejan Robida, P5, and that should be his best result of the season. Dejan Robida, yeah, it's P5 for the second time, but the first time it came was yesterday. Then in the meantime, you're watching the highlights and the crash between Richard Meixner and Adam Konopka right at the start. So yet another dominant performance by Martin Kadlecik to top the season off. Great year by the Czech driver. Absolute dominance, total dominance, 12 out of 12. Hats off to Martin Kadlecik. Nick Stefancic scoring his first victory in the Mark V class. Behind him, Szabolcs Lantos, Miha Primožič, Dejan Robida. And to complete the top 10, Ondřej Fekete. Jirka Zbožinek made his way up to 7th. Andrej Makarovic 8th. And then it was Rudolf Beňo and Tomáš Kazarka as the top two drivers in the Mazda MX-5 Cup. Andrej Kamenišťák P11 from Marko Kazarka. And of course we lost Richard Meixner and Adam Konopka right at the second attempt to start the race. The first one was of course aborted because of the troubles for Jiří Zbožinek, who was then actually able to rejoin the race and climb back to 7th place. So that's it for the Renault Clio Cup for 2023. And we're going to make a break now, as is the whole event here. There's going to be one more local race, and then of course as well the pit lane walk. So we'll make way for that, and we'll be back later on, right from the grid, because we'll rejoin the action just past 1 PM with the grid walk for the final race of the Eastern European TCR. And right after that, it's going to be the last GT sprint of 2023. My name is Pavel Fabry, I'm your commentator for the weekend, and let's just meet here in just under 2 hours, and in the meantime have a very good lunch, and yeah, enjoy yourselves. We'll be back before too long.